Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Just want to make a reminder that today is the final day of the sale for hair products. So if you need anything, grab it up for 40% off on Etsy, Shopify, and TikTok Shop. So, y'all, we're going to get into this next video. Last night, I was just really just watching a few videos and getting caught up. And I got a news flash that Donald Trump bombed Iran. And I'm like, here we go again. Here we go again. Earlier, it's peace talk this and peace talk that. And then you turned around and bombed these people. And you want to know why they're asking for Obama? You know, he doesn't want to believe he's the one causing it, but he is. So they bombed some facilities, and I you got to kind of proceed with caution with Donald Trump because he lies so much. They spoke about areas that they took out, and one of them is, I think, a place where they had their missiles or made their missiles. But I don't all the way believe Donald Trump. He has lied so much. Remember, they have no military, they have no navy, they have no air force. For a place that don't have anything, they sure know how to fire back at your ass, because they shot down two drones and they shot at an F-35 after Donald Trump had bombed them first. So, y'all, it's like, here we go again. Even the media is calling these peace talks weak, and it's not going nowhere. It's not going to go anywhere because if Donald Trump keeps bombing these people, they're not going to be open to negotiating with them at all. And the Straits of Hormuz will remain closed. I mean, as long as it's been closed, y'all, it is not going to make any impact, even if they open up right now. It probably won't be until sometime in 2027 before you might see a little bit of headway. But it's been closed so many times and for too long. It's going to take probably a good year and a half for people to get caught up on their gas and oil. So, and America's not doing all that great either, because I'm hearing more gas stations are showing signs of being out of fuel. And Donald Trump's still telling us not that much fuel comes from that region. He's clearly lying, as usual. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see here. Sure, I have it. Yeah, I do. Please give me a one if you can see my screen. Thank you.
So, Donald Trump decided to conduct a military strike against Iran today in the name of self defense.
Welcome to a special edition of CNN Newsroom. I'm Brianna Keeler, and we have breaking news. Explosions rock Iran. U.S. Central Command just confirming that U.S. forces targeted Iranian military facilities responsible for launching a series of attacks against American warships in the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian state media had reported blasts that were heard in the border city of Bandar Abbas. That's home to a key Iranian naval and air base along the strait. Iranian state media also reporting explosions in other cities as well. The attacks coming as intense discussions are underway tonight to end the war in Iran, but a deal is not in place. Iran's top security official declaring tonight, quote, there will be no retreat. And there's
Guess that means we won't be getting cheaper gas prices anytime soon because Donald Trump once again decided to restart the war between the United States and Iran. Yeah, and good luck to him getting the nuclear dust that he said we were about to get and bring over here to be destroyed. I have never ever in my life seen so much incompetence coming out of one administration like I'm seeing right now. Every day we're about 2 weeks away from this conflict ending, only for Donald Trump to make a mockery out of the United States by restarting the conflict on Memorial Day. This is truly pathetic, to say the least.
So somebody said, how will this war ever end? And how will we come to some type of peaceful agreement if the U.S. keeps launching new attacks on Iran? Now, the attacks that people are hearing about is Monday. Yesterday, U.S. announced that they launched new strikes in southern Iran, targeting their missile sites and a few boats that was trying to lay mines. Now, if you remember early in the year, Iran laid a bunch of mines throughout the Strait of Hormuz, so none of the ships, cargo ships and transport boats will be able to go through there safely without worrying about where those mines were located. The U.S. supposedly went in there, got up all the mines, and said they would prevent any new ones from being placed. That's what supposedly went on Monday. Now, the U.S. Central Command did make a statement, and he said that those strikes were considered self-defense, designed to protect the U.S. troops against threats posed by the Iranian troops. So that's what that was. If you didn't know, now you know. And knowing is half the battle. Love y'all. Be safe out there. Big Ducat. You already know. Thank me later.
Heard in the border city of Bandar Abbas. That's home to a key Iranian naval and air base along the strait. Iranian state media also reporting explosions in other cities as well. The attacks coming as intense discussions are underway tonight to end the war in Iran, but a deal is not in place. Iran's top security official declaring tonight, quote, there will be no retreat. And there's this from President Trump.
These incredible men and women gave their lives to ensure that the world's #1 state sponsor of terror will never have a nuclear weapon. Oh, and they won't.
Well, after weeks of intense diplomacy between the U.S. and Iran, these overnight strikes by U.S. forces really threatens this already fragile ceasefire between Washington and Tehran, who did seem to be heading towards some kind of an agreement to end the war. Now, in a statement to CBS News from CENTCOM, it said, and I'm quoting here, targets included missile launch sites and Iranian boats attempting to emplace mines. U.S. Central Command continues to defend our forces while using restraint during the ongoing ceasefire. Now, for the U.S., it seems this ceasefire still holds, but the strikes were carried out as Iranian leaders met with Qatari officials in the capital, Doha, for what's been described as intense U.S.-backed talks over the fate of the Strait of Hormuz, Iran's frozen assets, and its nuclear program. And this morning, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard said it would not only retaliate against any ceasefire violations, but that it had also shot down a U.S. drone and fired at a U.S. fighter jet that had entered its airspace. Now, we have no way of independently verifying that, but just a few weeks ago, U.S. and Iranian forces opened fire on each other, and the ceasefire continued to hold.
Negotiations currently underway. Late last night, the United States bombed Iranian targets. We attacked Iran, ostensibly, allegedly, in self-defense, but this comes as Donald Trump insists that the peace deal is 95% done. And now Iran is threatening military retaliation of their own. So it sure seems like that remaining 5% of the peace deal is basically where all of the peace deal is. The part that we don't have. The 95% that we allegedly do have doesn't really seem to mean much at all if we're actually still attacking one another kinetically. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. Yep, Mediaite reports U.S. bombs Iran hours after negotiators arrive for peace talks. The U.S. bombed Iranian targets on Monday, including missile launch sites and boats trying to lay mines, U.S. Central Command said. CENTCOM claimed the boats were laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran closed shortly after the U.S. and Israel started bombing the country. A ceasefire agreement was implemented last month, though occasional fire has been exchanged. The latest strikes came just hours after Iranian negotiators arrived in Qatar, the New York Times reported, stating, hours after Iranian negotiators arrived in Qatar for talks on ending the war, U.S. forces struck missile launch sites in Iran and boats trying to emplace mines, American officials said Monday night. U.S. Central Command characterized the strikes in southern Iran as defensive and said that they'd been intended, quote, to protect our troops from threats posed by Iranian forces. Both Central Command continues to defend our forces while using restraint during the ongoing ceasefire, said Captain Tim Hawkins, a Central Command spokesperson. The Times noted that the bombings came as Israel is planning to escalate its war on Lebanon. Iran has insisted that any ceasefire include Lebanon, which Israel invaded in April. Donald Trump has claimed that the U.S. and Iran are nearing a deal, but Iranian officials have said that no deal is imminent. The two biggest points of contention are the Strait of Hormuz and Iran's nuclear material, which remains under rubble after the U.S. and Israel bombed nuclear sites in last June. Publicly, Trump officials have insisted Iran was on the verge of making nuclear weapons, even though U.S. intelligence officials concluded that Iran was not close to doing so. So that's where we are with things. And then, of course, as the conservative Wall Street Journal is noting, Iran warns of retaliation after U.S. strikes. The attacks, which happened amid ongoing negotiations between Washington and Tehran, targeted sites in southern Iran. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps vowed to retaliate against the violations of the ceasefire after a renewed bout of fighting in which the U.S. struck missile launchers in southern Iran. In Monday's exchange of fire, the U.S. sank two Revolutionary Guard ships it said were attempting to lay mines in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran responded by launching surface-to-air missiles at U.S. planes, prompting American attacks on missile launchers, a U.S. official said. Meanwhile, the U.S. Navy is quietly assisting vessel crossings through the strait, according to U.S. military officials. Diplomatic efforts towards a deal were set to continue despite the fighting.
So you know that over the weekend, Donald Trump touted there was some sort of a ceasefire being agreed upon. And while that was happening, Pete Hegseth, I'm assuming, was approving more bombings and attacks on Iranian missile sites and other locations around Iran. In fact, there's video from Iran of them shooting down U.S. drones. So if this ceasefire deal falls apart, I'm going to go ahead and blame Pete Hegseth for that, on top of Donald Trump just being too stupid to be able to negotiate with a foreign country. Also, the last people on planet Earth that wants a ceasefire is Israel. Israel can't accomplish what they need to accomplish with Iran in the picture, right? So anything they can do to sabotage that, they're going to do that. So keep your eyes on that news. I highly anticipate the ceasefire talk falling apart. So while your gas prices are not set by the president, their actions affect them. Their actions can bring them up or bring them down. And Trump's actions have done nothing but bring them up from the start of his presidency. There's no money for veterans, disabled, elderly, homeless, sick. There's no money for Americans, but there's always enough money for war, for billion-dollar ballrooms that we were promised we wouldn't have to pay for. There's always enough money for rich people in war. Oh, and call your Democratic elected officials and tell them not to let Donald Trump and Elon fuck with our midterms. Don't forget to subscribe to my Instagram channel. And if you'd like to make individual contributions or donations, you can do that to my Cash App or Venmo in my link tree.
While it looked like diplomacy was working just yesterday, the war in Iran escalated significantly overnight, with the U.S. military launching new strikes. According to Central Command, the U.S. targeted missile launchers in southern Iran and destroyed Iranian ships attempting to place mines in the Persian Gulf, claiming they were threatening American forces. CENTCOM said the strikes were done in self-defense and with restraint. Iran's Revolutionary Guard quickly responded, saying it considers its right to reciprocal response both legitimate and certain, adding it fired at an American jet and drones that entered Iranian airspace. This latest escalation could jeopardize the most significant diplomatic push yet to end the three-month war with Iran. Secretary of State Rubio, speaking after the U.S. military attacks, suggested peace talks are not over.
I think there's strong alignment and agreement on what a preliminary draft should look like. It's going to take a couple days to settle on, even down to the disagreements over a word.
But President Trump is now adding a major new condition, writing that as part of the Iran deal, he expects all countries that took part in negotiations to make full peace with Israel. That is likely to be a major sticking point for many Middle Eastern and Islamic nations.
Well, y'all, I'm not looking for these talks to go anywhere. I'm really not. I mean, I think they couldn't be more further apart in ending everything. And, you know, we are in those times where America's going to be in these wars and there's no way out of it for them. You know, the time of this place is over. And y'all, with not enough oil and gas to go around, it will surely tank America. It will. If you want to watch a country decline down to nothing, take their gas and oil. That will do. Just that alone will do it. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your support. And be on the lookout for my upcoming lives. Shalom, family.